Hmm.
Aloha, Michael.
Hello.
How's Deborah? How are you?
I think Fred is on the line.
Yeah, I just sent him the link. He didn't have it. I don't know why, but he has said send it, so I did. So I invited a couple of friends, and one had to be in a wedding today, so she couldn't make it.
Aloha.
Hello.
Aloha.
Aloha. Thank you, Deborah, for
Yeah.
sending the.
You're very welcome. And then another one, just got home from a long trip. They both said, let them know if you do this again or continue on this topic. Both women, they were interested, but they couldn't be here today.
How are you, Deborah? How are you, Michael?
I'm
Fine, thank
good. Thank you.
you. Look well, Bahia.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, you doing okay?
Yeah,
Okay,
doing
good.
okay. A few problem with
Oh,
sleep, of course, and
yeah. We
my
always have those, don't we?
old age.
Yes, exactly. I know. I was just having that conversation with Linda. She just came back from study from story about.
Children's class. Ah.
Yeah, and I was telling her about that with me, and she said, "Oh, that the doctors tell you that, but it's not really true."
Somebody told me, don't say old age, say you are aging. I said,
Yeah,
oh, okay.
maturing, ripening. How about that? No, because that means you're going to have a baby. That doesn't work,
Oh,
right,
God.
Christy? Christy's there somewhere. I don't know if they can hear us yet, Christy and Byron.
Yeah, we miss you.
She'll be on soon.
Okay, okay. Aloha, Byron.
Hello, Pop.
Myra said she might join.
Oh,
I don't know if she remembered or not, but I reminded
Pamela's
her this
going to try to
morning.
make it.
What's that?
Pamela.
Oh, good. That would be great. Yeah, I was telling Michael I invited a couple friends that would like to come, but they weren't able to be here today. But they were
Are,
interested in the topic.
are you home, Deborah?
Yeah, I just got home about an
Oh,
hour ago.
really?
Yeah,
Oh, welcome home.
thank you. Yeah, I'm glad to
Yeah,
be
we'll
here.
miss you so much.
Thank you, dear. Well, look forward to seeing you all tomorrow.
Oh, yeah. I didn't know you. Yeah, I mean,
So Michael, my next door neighbors, lovely young couple that I've introduced the faith to and were interested, they just moved to Ashland, Kentucky.
Oh, wow.
oh, oh,
Oh,
Yes, yeah.
wow.
So yeah, I'm hoping they're just getting settled in their new home, and I'm hoping, in a little bit to introduce them to you.
That's
So
wow.
really, really nice. Yeah,
That's wonderful.
yeah, really, really nice young couple. They're just wonderful. I hated to see them go. They were fantastic neighbors.
oh, okay.
Do they have
Yeah.
a prayer book?
I don't, no, they don't. I gave them the new teaching book, that what's that one called? Spiritual Path to Unity and Social Justice. This is what I gave them. But
There's
we
Christy.
that's as far as we got, and then they, you know, left. So
Christy, your camera's on.
we can see your floor. Beautiful floor, Christy.
Beautiful fingers.
Yeah, beautiful fingers on a beautiful floor. There we go. Oh,
There she is.
excuse me. I need it.
Oh, your camera's back on.
Oh,
Michael's
Pam.
talking to you.
Hi, Pam.
There's Pamela.
Yeah, Pamela joined us.
Oh, good. Ah, Hi, Pamela.
Hello, how are you?
I'm doing well, thanks. How are you doing?
Uh, I'm hanging in here.
Okay, well, it's great to see you.
Good to see you all as well.
Oh,
So
yeah.
Pamela's
Fred
been saying a
was
lot
like
of prayers
not
for her family. She's the last one standing.
Last one's what?
Yes.
I had four siblings. Two have passed away. One has been in the nursing home for 2 years, and my youngest sibling has had a stroke about 3 weeks ago. So,
Oh no, I'm so sorry to hear that.
yeah.
Sheesh.
So I'm running up and down the road. I just left my 91-year-old mother.
Oh
Oh,
my. Well, God bless her. She's still going.
Yeah,
Yes.
you come from good stock.
Yeah.
Yes. So, I am still standing. Yes.
Keep
uh,
doing it. Keep doing it.
That's what we have to do. Thank God I'm able to do it. That's the key.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank God indeed.
Yes.
yeah, you are young, Pam.
Yeah, they say.
Yes, young at heart too.
Yes. Yes. Thank you.
Did you say something about a prayer, Michael?
Yeah, I was going to get started with the prayer, Deborah. That's right.
Okay. I think my neighbor Linda was going to join us, but maybe she got.
I do have a beautiful song too. So
Oh, lovely.
here's a prayer. It's in the woman subcategory in the prayer book. Glory to thee, O my God, one of thy handmaidens, who hath believed in thee, and in thy signs hath entered beneath the shadow of the tree of thy oneness. Give her to quaff, O my God, by thy name, the manifest and the hidden of thy choice sealed wine, that it may take her away from her own self, and make her to be entirely devoted to thy remembrance, and wholly detached from any one besides thee. Now that thou hast revealed unto her the knowledge of thee, O my Lord, deny her not by thy bounty thy grace. And now that thou hast called her unto thyself, drive her not away from thee, through thy favor. Supply her, then, with that which excelleth all that can be found on thine earth. Thou art verily the most bountiful, whose grace is immense. Wert thou to bestow on one of thy creatures what would equal the kingdoms of heaven and earth, it would still not diminish by even as much as an atom the immensity of thy dominion. Far greater art thou than the great one men are wont to call thee, for such a title is one of thy names, all of which were created by a mere indication of thy will. There is no God but thee, the God of power, the God of glory, the God of knowledge and wisdom.
This piece is called Bridal Blessing, which is on my upcoming marriage. Turn away from
in this great human garden, even as flowers grow and blend together side by side. Love ye all religions, and all races, with a love that is true, true and sincere, and show that love through deeds, and show that love. Let all associate, therefore, in this great human garden, even as flowers grow and blend together side by side. The tongue of grandeur hath however in the day of his manifestation proclaimed it is not his to boast who loveth his country, but it is his who loveth the world. Love ye all religions, and all races, with a love that is true, true and sincere, and show that love through deeds, and show that love. Let all associate, therefore, in this great human garden, even as flowers grow and blend together side by side. Let all associate, therefore, in this great human garden, even as flowers grow and blend together side by side. Even as flowers grow and blend together side by side by side.
That starts our meeting. We're going to be doing a study, and those were a good introduction. It's in full partnership. And studies have shown that the words written by Baha'u'llah almost 200 years, over 150 years ago, almost 200 years coming up, over 150 years ago are still applicable today. And research has come in and said that two of the most important aspects to ensure successful society are empowering women and teaching children. And both of those are reflected as important in the Baha'i faith. So it really gives me goosebumps thinking about how applicable the teachings were back then to our current modern age, and science has validated that. So without further ado, we'll start our studies. Any thoughts by anybody while I get this going?
Michael, only the thing about the two wings of a bird. You'll probably bring it up, but how true it is the bird cannot soar without two strong wings.
That's true. The analogy is a little different, but in the sense that one wing is built just a little bit different than the other wing. So there are certain capabilities that one wing might have that the other wing might not have. But in terms of being a complementary pair to allow a family to flourish, you're absolutely right. As a complementary pair, they really help a family grow and prosper.
Michael, two things. One, there's on my screen, I don't know if anybody else has seen this, there's a rectangular black thing that's blocking part of the,
Am I moving it?
no, I can see your cursor, but no. Okay. Yeah, that's it. Great. Thanks. And then the other thing was you said something about empowering women and teaching children being two most important factors in building peace. Is that correct? Did I understand that?
A peace and peaceful societies. Yes. So peace within a community, and then peace even within a larger culture or organization, or
Yeah.
sovereign national body. Yes.
And can you refer us to any of the research that you mentioned
Yeah.
about that? I'd like to look some of that up.
There were 5 key characteristics,
Uh-huh.
2 of them. Okay, I made a note of that, Deborah.
Okay, thanks, Michael. Yeah, maybe you can email that or something if you don't mind. That would be nice. I'd like to read more about it.
Okay, before we get started, I would like to take notes as to see who would like to read. Deborah, could you read for us?
Yes.
Bahia, can you read? No, I understand. Byron and Christy,
I
sometimes.
can when you need it.
Pamela, would you like to read for us?
I would like to, but I'm half out of it. But I'll, if I can see it clearly, I will.
Okay, we'll give you a shot.
Okay, thank you.
And Linda?
Linda? Linda, you're on mute, so we'll give Linda a chance to respond
Hi,
later.
Linda. Hi.
She said hi. Oh, she's trying to unmute. Okay. Yep, she'll read, she said.
Great.
There it is. Hey, Miss Christy. Hey, y'all. Let me take my what you call
Hi.
it. Let me see.
Glad
This is
you're here.
my first time here. I'm trying to figure out how to start this video so y'all can see me.
Thank you.
Let me see. Oh, shucks.
Oh, great. Thank you, Linda. Okay, good.
Can you see me? Okay, great.
So, Deborah, can you read the first couple of paragraphs for us? And
Okay.
is the readability okay?
Yes, it's beautiful on my screen. It's not good for my old eyes. In full partnership, women's advancement as a prerequisite for peaceful societies, a statement of the Baha'i International Community to the 69th session of the Commission, that's the United Nations Commission on the Status of Women. The end of the 20th century was momentous in humanity's collective history. After centuries of effort, women's rights were recognized as human rights. Significant strides were also made to translate political agreement into laws and practices. Together, these advances culminated in the landmark Fourth World Conference on Women in Beijing, an occasion we honor 30 years on. Notably, the conference signaled widespread commitment to the foundational principle of gender equality, drawing some 50,000 delegates from governments, United Nations agencies, and civil society. Representatives of the Baha'i international community collaborated alongside these actors at that seminal moment, as they had at the preceding conferences in Mexico City, Copenhagen, and Nairobi.
Before you go on, can you read the circle for us?
The advancement of women is a prerequisite for peaceful and prosperous societies. It is an objective that must be embraced if we are to bring about a harmonious future that goes beyond the cessation of violence.
Thank you. The IC representatives continue.
Have since witnessed the international landscape of women's advancement evolve and continue to work closely with those actively pursuing the conference's desired outcomes.
So, we can see that something that happened 30 years ago is still revealed as very powerful and important. Um,
Michael, and I want to add this global. The more we realize our oneness globally, the more these principles become proven in society as essential.
Yes, absolutely. And some societies might be, on different paths than us, than the United States of America. But I think the general recognition is a powerful force. And there's more coming about that. So, but yes, your point is very accurate. Great. Byron, would you be thank you for reading, Deborah. Byron, would you read the next two paragraphs for us, please?
Sure.
Thank you.
And I think you're starting with the advancement of women as a prerequisite.
I am. We are, yes.
Yeah. Well, see if I can catch up with you. The advancement of women is a prerequisite for peaceful and prosperous societies. It is an objective that must be embraced if we are to bring about a harmonious future that goes beyond the cessation of violence. Yet the 12 critical areas of concern articulated in Beijing, devised to support women's full development and equality with men, are still to be adequately addressed. Hard-won gains are eroding as patriarchal norms embedded in the systems and structures of society surge, resurge, with harmful effects for women and men alike. Indeed, history has demonstrated that institutional reforms remain tenuous and vulnerable to shifts in power and priorities if they are not accompanied by a more enduring transformation within the individual mindsets and social norms. Going to go on with the anniversary?
Yes, please.
This anniversary then provides an opportunity to derive insights from communities learning to cultivate healthier and more inclusive dynamics, beginning within the home, where many societal beliefs and attitudes often originate, extending into neighborhoods and villages, and eventually leading to the emergence of just systems and practices. The knowledge generated by these experiences offer valuable lessons which will also need to be applied at the international level. For ultimately, the realization of gender equality requires universal participation. It necessitates the proactive involvement of every segment of every population, working shoulder to shoulder in full partnership.
Thank you. There are two things I want to highlight here. The desire to have women fully participate in society requires universal participation. It doesn't require just women. It requires universal participation. That hit really hard for me. But I didn't turn in time because I was kind of stuck on this. Is hard-won gains are eroding as patriarchal norms, and one of the patriarchal norm that was embedded in the system of American society was particularly divorce and or credit. And so that was not really changed until all the way until the mid 1980s, if you can believe it. So we had the right to vote in 1919 with the 19th Amendment, and it's still hard to believe that there are these norms in our society that were kind of baked in the system all the way until the mid 1980s. And I'm not saying that they haven't been completely baked out yet. Some are still embedded even in the US system, but it can make you realize how we think we may be a progressive nation and how other nations may have more to work on than us.
What are those norms you mentioned
Yeah.
again?
What were they two you mentioned?
Um, Women couldn't have credit cards until the 1980s,
Oh, really? The 1980s? Ooh.
and the distribution of property upon death was one.
Um,
So it went to the man before the woman, and it took until 1980. And
huh.
also there was some disparity with regard to divorce. In other words, it wasn't split 50-50. The man could
Mhm.
hold most of his earnings, you know. And it took until the 1980s for those things to change.
Wow. Thank
And
you.
now women don't make the same salaries as men for the same jobs. It
Mm.
may be getting a little better, but it's not equal.
Yeah, that's a really big one, Christy. That's yeah. In almost every occupation and profession, women
Mhm.
earn significantly less than men, even in, professionals like yourself. You're
Mhm.
like yourself in the medical professions.
Mhm.
Doctors and nurses earn less, female doctors and nurses earn significantly less than male doctors and nurses.
Mhm.
Thank you.
One thing, Michael, I'd like to mention as we read through the statement, one of the unique features of these statements, and they come out almost every month now from the Baha'i international community, is that they're just not talking about good ideas. They're actually talking about evidence. What we've learned from communities that are implementing these principles in building community.
And with that, you're absolutely right. And with that evidence, it kind of spurs you into action too. You can realize, oh my goodness, there's some work that we can do. So, yeah, it's also can spur individual initiative too. Um, One of the things I had a couple of people apply for a job that I had, and I told Gloria, and she was like going, "Well, I really, what do you have?" And I said, "I have two guys as engineers, and I'm thinking of hiring a third guy." And she's like, "Do you have a woman apply?" And I go, "Yes." Is she as qualified? And I'm like, "Well, she has an attitude, I was just being honest with my wife, and it was just for her. But yeah, she's just as qualified, and she's like, I would seriously take a look at the lady. I think she might be a good fit for you. So yeah, you're right. We can tend to be, pigeonholed in our thinking, and so we need to be aware of that and say, oh wow, yeah, I might need to take an individual initiative to change something that I had been doing. Anyway, I had almost forgotten about it. I mean, I was like, yeah, it was my decision, and Gloria's like, I'm glad you hired that lady. Just a couple of months ago, she brought it up out of the blue. And I'm like, oh, yeah, that's right. You did encourage me to do that. So,
Thanks for sharing that.
Along this theme of finances, one big lesson I'm learning from visiting mommies in homes, there's a lot of single mommies.
Yeah.
They're doing the most important job of society, raising these children alone, and they barely make minimum wage sometimes. This has just stunned me how they're nervous and worried about feeding their children, even though there are food banks and stuff. It's not just that, it's just it's a stress for them.
And finding a safe daycare for them when they're not at home.
and
Yeah.
that was something that you brought up, Byron, is I know somebody who was working at our place, and she was really worried about her kids at home while she had to work that hour and a half between when they got home and when she came home from work. So your points are both right. If you work or even if you don't work, you're worried about your kids, eating good food. Absolutely. One of the things that my dad was a proponent of that he was big on was trying to get the school lunches for every kid, because in California it was based on income, and my dad, was just above that margin, and he was like, I just have a tough time with that. So yeah, that was something that has improved, better food in our schools, and that's something that can make a difference too. Any other thoughts? Great. Pamela, can you read for us? Can you start with the circle and then after the circle read gender equality?
Okay, I'm reading from my cell phone, so give me a second to try to get its size. Okay, no, wow. Said ultimately, is that where you're at? Ultimately, the realization of gender equality requires universal participation. It necessitates the proactive involvement of every segment of every population, working shoulder to shoulder in full partnership. Gender equality is not only a goal which humanity aspires to achieve, but a necessary condition for peace and prosperity. Societies with higher levels of equality between the sexes tend to have lower levels of, oh, you're moving it, lower levels of violent conflict. Likewise, it is widely accepted that peace processes that engage more women tend to last longer.
Can you read the next one, Pamela?
Mm-hmm. Failure to recognize that women are equal to men ultimately impedes the material, social, and spiritual flourishing of every individual. Yet women who are more likely to experience abuse, bias, and discrimination are also more likely to be excluded from spaces designed to address these violations. If humanity is to fully understand and overcome the systematic nature of these challenges, the rich diversity of human experience must be drawn upon in its entirety. Barriers that prevent women from contributing knowledge to the search for effective solutions must therefore be removed.
Thank you, Pamela. That was great.
Mhm.
So barriers must be identified, searched, and then removed. So that's powerful.
Michael, I think, when I read through the statement the first time, I said I really wish they had given the reference to that statement that societies that have fuller engagement of women are more peaceful. This is actually accepted in the political economic literature, and there's actually a measure they can do by. And I hope you're all sitting down, because the person that is the leader of this thought in the international community is a professor of social studies at Texas A&M.
Oh, wow.
And believe it or not, Baylor has just been awarded a grant, a $40 million grant that they share with Harvard and I think UC Berkeley, to document this aspect of how to build peaceful societies. And it involves the participation of women, how they are drawn into full partnership.
Byron, is that professor at Texas A&M, male or female?
Female.
And you said it's in the Department of Social Studies, or this?
Right. She's in the Department of Social Studies in Texas A&M.
Very interesting.
Do you know her name?
I'll have to look it up.
Oh, okay. Thanks.
Hang on. I'll try to post it in the chat.
Thanks. Yeah, that's great. Thank you.
I hope that program will go through to completion and is looked at, because I think it's a very important program. With the government funding, sometimes it's cut off at your knees, but I hope that this program stays for sure. Christy, could you read 2 paragraphs starting from diverse perspectives?
Yeah, and I want to add one thing to that program idea. One thing that I learned from doing the doctorate of nursing, number one, there's a lot of female topics, and they get well researched. And I know mine is this odd one about breasting, but these barriers are outlined in every research project. It's like a part of doing the capstone and the research. So I'm very intrigued that out of Texas A&M, Baylor, Byron, those are 2 different schools. So I'm a little confused about what you said about monies. But I know Baylor is a devout Christian school. So if they got large monies, it just shows how they've taken ownership of trying to raise the voice of women. You said women in peace. Okay. And it's easy to find literature on barriers to things. It's so easy. Okay. Diverse. Let's see. Okay. I'm looking at my diverse perspectives must be reflected in decision making spaces, but care must be given to guard against tokenistic representation. Prejudicial attitudes can be held by women and men alike. Normative change is therefore necessary. Do you think that means cultural change, normative change?
Yeah, changing the norms of the
Like
culture.
cultural. Okay. Patriarchal tendencies and self-serving ambition will need to be replaced with qualities like collaboration, reciprocity, compassion, and a humble posture of learning in all settings. Until transformation takes root within mindsets and finds expression in culture, the underlying causes of prejudice and determination embedded in the systems and structures of societies, will remain unquestioned and will continue to perpetuate injustice. Underlying causes embedded.
Yes, normative change is therefore necessary. And so I think when you think of a norm, like Deborah was saying, it's like a group, you know. But a norm is like that phrase realpolitik, where it reflects kind of the mood or the thinking of a group. And yeah,
Mhm.
an event or something that happens can have a change for one group, but not really impact a change for another, you know? And so normative change is kind of like a big blob, and you have some pieces moving out this way and some pieces moving out this way, you know? And so, yeah, normative change doesn't mean that everybody accepts it, but it's kind of like a majority or a significant portion of it does.
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
So one of the things is my friend is in Ohio, and she's responsible for developing a multicultural musical program there, and it's just outside of Athens. And this festival that she organizes with music and everything is actually in response by a political organization. So where she lives used to be a hotbed of racial tension and racial expressions of hate, even though the KKK had a base there. And so by developing this festival and stuff, they have noticed that hatred and stuff has calmed down. So normative change can happen by things that you might not expect it to. You know what I'm saying? So she's
Yes.
doing great work with this festival, and it was sponsored, and that stuff works. You know, that's another thing with prayer that's really powerful. Is prayer, although you might not physically see it, it does create a normative change that can make quick change later on to the overall society. And so as a result, normative change didn't mean that the KKK went away, but it meant that their activities had to kind of like really go underground, you know, it had to be removed from the public eye very much so. So
You know,
I
thing, Miss Michael, not to change anything, I'm adding to what you said.
yes,
When there's usually that type of change, like the music is such a positive little subtle, not little, but a subtle way of being positive about diversity, but
it
it
does.
still can cause resistance. That's what I sometimes think about. People don't um, like to feel the stress of change a lot of times.
Another thing that's powerful that you mentioned, arts, for instance, was seeing a particular artist come on the scene, and all of a sudden people are like, "Oh wow, that's great," and then you realize, oh, you know, that artist may be of a different color, and you're like, "Oh, okay." So Michael Jackson had that big effect in the '80s when he came out. I remember after he came out, you know, we were all trying to dance like the Thriller and stuff, you know, a bunch of white guys trying to do it. And it was funny, but it was amazing that he had that normative change aspect because of his music, because of his entertainment, you know? And so that's an example of a kind of like breaking some of the prejudicial attitudes. And so we can hope that things can happen also between, you know, against women or whatever.
Mm.
Thank you for your thoughts, Christy. Could you read the next paragraph for us?
Those are good examples. I do want to say last week or the week before, these third graders were trying to dance like Michael Jackson. And I was surprised because they're, a few generations away. It lasted. Okay.
I know,
What,
absolutely.
what might it look like in practice for populations to commit to the principle of gender equality as a foundation? for peaceful societies. Baha'i communities, for their part, are working to address longstanding beliefs and practices that run counter to the principle of equality. In areas where their efforts have become more systematic, these communities are observing dramatic, profound shifts in the way women are viewed in their societies. These changing perceptions are leading to greater degrees of inclusivity and equity, allowing more opportunities for women to serve in leadership roles and contribute to social change.
And as we indicated, you can have a dramatic and profound shift, they're just like you mentioned, people, trying to dance like Michael Jackson, or stuff like that. Linda, can you read the circle and then start with the course after the circle? Could you read for us, Linda?
Yes. Can I say something before I read, please?
Take your time.
Okay, so y'all were talking about the music. We were talking about the music earlier. Right now, it's bad for my my people right now. I would say, if you will notice, like back in the 60s and 70s, it was like feel good music. 80s still feel good music, and it progressed to now. Guys are calling women bees, and they're shooting up the club. They call it that trap music, trill music, or whatever. So music plays a big part on how people feel. I mean, it literally casts spells. If you listen to like the Michael Jackson era, whatnot, you feeling good, you trying to dance like him and all that stuff, and then compared to the music that we have now that's being pushed, like if you don't talk about a certain thing in your records, they're not finna promote you. You're not getting ready to get a record deal, so they have to promote, shooting, killing, being like if you don't mind me saying, horror or whatever, just acting like one or whatnot. That's what's in our music these days. And it's just been a big shift. And I feel kind of bad for our youth today, because this is what's being pushed on them, whatnot. And it's just not good. It's not good at all. Like whoever listen to gospel music, that's fine. But gospel music, it can make you feel bad. I was at a place in my life where I was cleaning on to the church and cleaning on the gospel, and I just felt worse really after listening to the gospel music, because it just brought me further down and whatnot. Some gospel music, really, I'm not saying it all do, but the ones I was listening to, I could relate to it, but it didn't make me feel good. It's like, okay, somebody else going through it. But now I just would rather our kids, and it starts in the home, letting you not listen to certain music. Like when my daughter was young, I wouldn't even let her watch videos, because to me, videos said this is what society say is pretty. This is what society say people are attracted to and stuff like that. So I would not let her watch videos. It's just a whole thing with this, music these days or whatnot. And it's just in our culture. We don't hear country music talking about, calling a woman a bee. They crying in their tear in my beer. They just having a good time and all that stuff. But it's just our culture that we really gotta get a hold of with our kids and say, look, this is not the way to go or whatnot. But this is where we at now, though. So
you have to not let it come into your home just because that's what's out there or what they say is the popular thing doesn't mean that you have to follow that. I was always the peculiar one, I guess. In my family, we didn't follow those, societal norms. We didn't go that way, and we didn't have friends that, did those things. And even today, I couldn't tell you who the popular musician or whatever, group is. And my children don't listen to the popular music. It like it starts in the home, and then those are the people that you associate with. You can't change everybody, but we tend to sometimes think what we think is the truth may not necessarily be true. So even though we feel like everybody's listening to that type of music, everybody is not.
I
And
didn't say everybody was. I
no,
just
no,
said but it's what's out there. It's what's being pushed on our youth as a whole. It is whether you listen to it or not, it's out there, and that's what's being pushed. My thing is, it's not music that's like peaceful, all encompassing. Let's love everybody. That music is not being pushed today amongst our culture. Whether you listen to it or not, it's not. I'm telling you.
that's
And
true.
it's
And
not.
just like the clothes that's out there that's for sale for teenage girls is not what I would prefer for the teenage girls to wear. But that's what's out there. So how do we offset that? What do we do to support and to, have our system, what we believe in, to be put forth?
What you're
Okay, the teenagers aren't buying their clothes. First of all, I'm buying, and I'm not buying nothing that
Okay.
looks like that looks less than. No, I'm
Yeah.
purchasing clothes. But when you get grown and on your own, hey, I can only just hope that the foundation I gave you, you stay on it. You know what I'm saying? If you got friends, I tell my son all the time, don't pick up no bad habits. You might have friends that do this, that. Don't pick up no bad habits.
That's beautiful. See, that's the conversation we're really praying to have on that May 10th gathering, because we're talking about transformation of society from the families up. But what you're saying in the schools and the music, I don't know. I'm old. I'm a grandma's age, right? And these little boys, I got called to the principal, that my sweet principal over at West Side. I just love her. She said, Miss Christie, I need you to explain what happened with this boy. And so he was in fourth grade. He was doing what I couldn't speak, the crotch grabbing a little boy, and the other little boys were all grabbing their crotches. So I said, boys, stop. That is not nice. And because I did react a bit strongly to the my old-fashioned self or whatever, I used the word nasty, and that was a bad word, I guess, to the principal. She said the parents may be complaining, and I said, oh, I never want to humiliate one child. They didn't know they were being inappropriate, and I had to immediately stop that inappropriate. And I'm glad the principal got involved so she can speak to the parents if they call and complain. But it was a culture shock for me to see, that. So it's happening in the schools, and they don't know it. They're getting that music, and so I'm really grateful you're talking about this spiritual sensitivity in the homes, because we are trying to have faith that these conversations will raise people, and there'll be more solidarity in these acquiring sensitivity and spirituality in the home. Anyway, excuse me. Yeah, I had to defend myself because I didn't want the school in trouble that I had did I overreact? I was shocked, to that. And I had to speak up I think I was speaking for the children, even though they didn't. They were surprised that Miss Christie got upset with them. Oh, my dear. Sorry. Point well taken. That's all I mean.
Would you like to read, Linda?
Yeah, that block is in the center, please, sir. You take that. It's a block right there in the center.
I was texting, or I was sending a chat to the 5 pillars of creating a society, a thriving society. So thank you for waiting.
Okay. All right. What might it look like in practice for populations to commit to the principle of gender equality as a foundation for peaceful societies? Of course, these communities still grapple with age-old systems and customs that have historically maintained an unjust status quo. But what is distinctive about their experience is the approach to social transformation. The means for constructive social change must be coherent with its ends. This approach has involved a range of educational initiatives designed to develop capacity within individuals to learn with their family members, neighbors, friends, and co-workers to apply moral and spiritual qualities such as unity, justice, equality, and trustworthiness in their
Personal.
I couldn't see it. He had to scroll up for me. Yeah, personal lives and social settings throughout the individual's life cycle. It is guided and reinforced by a global system of coordination and is implemented by local populations according to their specific circumstances and resources.
Thank you. Could you read the circle for us, Linda?
Certainly. Educational programs led groups to reflect on spiritual principle that every individual is inherently noble, irrespective of sex.
And so, we were talking about things to do to not have our kids influenced by music or by other things. And I think, educational programs and spiritual principles might be the key.
Something I do love about the West Side Elementary is how they, in listening to this conversation, they include the grandmothers. They're
Yeah,
grandmothers, especially African Americans, into the classroom. And I just think that's one of the smartest things I've seen.
yeah.
Mm-hmm. And also, y'all, most people that know me knows that I'm a union electrician, and so trying to break these stereotypes and things that go along, all the isms that go on along with being a electrician is the only way I'm feeling like that it could be broke, or like toned down some is when we start hitting them in the pockets for harassment or discrimination because they weren't listening to us earlier. It's just like, oh, you a whiner, oh, you on a man's job, oh, this is what just goes on or whatnot, and it's just supposed to be accepted. And sometimes, a lot of times, people didn't want to lose their job, especially when I first was coming through. They didn't want to lose their job, so we just had to suck it up. I told my son, and I came home upset, crying, and everything, many days because of what I had to go through on the job to, make a living for us. So it was hard, but people like me, I can show girls, hey, look, you can be an electrician, you can be whatever you want to be or whatnot. But like you said, it's got to be implemented in these programs. This is not what an electrician look like all the time. This is what an electrician look like. You know what I'm saying? This is what a plumber looks like. We make good money. You know what I'm saying? So if they'll just like have programs like how they have the when they have the professionals come in, firemen, you know what I'm saying? Professional day, whatever it's called, when they come in and talk to the kids as far as like, okay, like this is what you're interested in, come talk to her. You know what I'm saying? They need to have men there as well as women there, so it could be all encompassing as far as the face of the different professionals, the different professions that are out there, whereas men has always been the face of them. They got to see us too.
And I just want to say, have the reverse prejudice. I really identify as a midwife, and midwife is not ever understood very well to be a professional, even though the education is very meticulous, like a doctor to a point. It's always like, oh, sweet little midwives. You know what I mean? They're a little, I can't put my finger to explain it, but the babies are not, they take it for granted. Babies are going to be raised, instead of saying these phenomenal, noble human beings that are going to change the world are being raised by these mothers. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
Thank you for the discussion. That was great. Deborah, could you read the in the state of for me?
Sure. And before that, I just want to say, Linda, I think that's a great idea about having both women and men from different professions go into the classroom so that kids can see that they can be
Mhm.
whatever they want to be. It's not a gender specific profession. In
Yeah,
this state,
and I had seen these go back to work days and little daughters coming into the workplace and going, "Oh wow, that's a nice office. I bet he's a powerful man." And it's like she is the very influential the person, you know. So yeah, you're
yeah,
right. Oh wow, I could be that person too. So
yeah,
yes,
yeah,
back going back to work days can be very powerful.
yeah.
Yeah.
In the state of Bihar, India, for instance, these educational programs led groups to reflect on the spiritual principle that every individual is inherently noble, irrespective of sex. As they continued to engage in these programs, it became increasingly difficult to overlook social practices that contradicted this principle. Participants, both women and men, began to identify harmful trends within their villages and considered how to respond to the fact that women were held back in many areas, such as advancing in their education and contributing to decision making.
Um, you know, I don't want to embarrass Miss Bahia, but I really love you, Miss Bahia, and you've always moved me. How you went and got a master's in library science, didn't it? Wasn't it after your children were educated? They finished their college? Oh, you're on.
Home, I was a librarian. I got my master's
Wait,
back home,
oh,
Oh,
it,
back home.
Pakistan.
Pakistan.
Yeah.
Oh, before.
Then, yeah.
Yeah.
And I was in my yeah, PhD program when I came to America. I didn't finish.
Oh, wow.
Oh my dear.
Yeah, they
You
were quite advanced in that, so.
were there many women in the program? Were you?
Right, yes, yes, they were.
Oh,
That's pretty exciting, I think, because I know in my dad's generation or my parents' generation, the common concept about women was that their place was in the home. They were not supposed to go to college. They were not supposed to get educated, maybe primary school or high school, but then they were just supposed to be, they called it barefoot and pregnant.
absolutely true. The, if I can say, my mother was from a farming community, and I never knew very much. She was a very interested in religion type of person, but she was very principled. And the one thing she said about Baha'i was, she said, it takes half a brain to embrace these principles, anyone with half a brain, but was education of women. And she wasn't even secure in her reading skills.
Oh,
So she dreamed her daughter, I was her only daughter, would get an education. And, now she sees her granddaughters up there. It's kind of amazing.
yeah. A lot of transformation already, but more to come.
Christy
Yeah.
could speak more specifically to this, but she grew up in a community we call it the bubble. You can go to kindergarten through high school and then on to Southern Methodist University, and never leave home.
Wow.
And when she went to high school, she was they were still graduating girls who were expected to go to SMU to get their MRS degree.
Right, exactly.
Yeah. That was after Africa, because mother wanted the education of the children in America.
Good.
Interesting, the difference. Probably you have stories, Pamela, about difference between what you saw, Charles, and you about education.
The difference in education.
You're
Here.
yeah, you met him in college.
Yes.
And he was from African background. Were you and him always united in your understanding of education of women? You know, your daughters and.
Well, he grew up in a Christian family, so those, those other beliefs are from the other, people that are not Christian. I'll put it to you like that.
Okay. So
Yeah.
Him. Yeah.
So even they still have those beliefs where he is, but a certain segment of society
Right.
that the girls need to be educated. Because back to what Deborah said, barefoot and pregnant kind of thing, or stay in your place. However, as I review or think about their educational system, they're far above us. And the U.S. education, and I heard what you said, that your mother, Christy, wants you to be educated here. But when you look at, what we think, what we look at, the truth is, U.S. education is behind a lot of other countries, so. Yes.
Very true. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Michael, I also wanted to mention that when you read this statement online, that it's not available in the print, but I look in the chat to the educational programs that are referenced by the statement when you read it online, and it just programs in Bihar that the Baha'is have been building over the years.
Right.
For gender equality.
Ah.
I'm not sure what you're saying, Byron.
The print, there's no link to it in the print program. They don't reference, but if you read the statement online, you can go to the link at the Baha'i World News about the educational programs in Bihar.
Okay.
Byron, can you read the next paragraph starting with the Baha'i community and then the circle? Byron, can you read?
You're muted, Byron.
They can't hear you, Byron.
There you go. Sorry. Can you still hear me?
The Baha'i.
Yeah.
Okay. So, Baha'i community decided to convene consultative spaces for families to explore the causes of such challenges and devise potential pathways forward. Participants shared experiences and, through courageous deliberation, explored the uncomfortable truths that girls and women were not viewed as inherently equal within their societies, and thus did not share the same opportunities as boys and men. It became clear that this unjust reality was reinforced by numerous expectations, assumptions, and fears. For example, the death was married off, that women were considered unclean during menstruation, that it was unsafe for attitudes found expression in many harmful ways. Boys were often prioritized when deciding which child to send to school. Financial resources were directed toward a dowry rather than a daughter's professional development, and women who were viewed as unclean were not permitted to enter certain settings, thus preventing their participation in decision-making spaces or leadership roles. The enhanced capacity to analyze the manifestations of inequality was an important driver for cultural transformation within the community. Many boys and men began to openly interrogate long-held beliefs and examine the ways their mothers, sisters, wives, and daughters were impacted. It became clear that this was not just a challenge for women alone. The whole community was impacted, and this demanded universal action. In fact, India has now taken kind of their own Me Too movement to prevent the rape of young women and unsolved deaths of women.
Good.
Also, there's a movement within India to stop underage girls from marrying.
Marrying, yeah, under the age of 12. Yeah.
Yes. And yeah, that has been part of their changing of their norms recently. Thank you, Byron. Pamela, can you read participants have for us?
Sure. It doesn't mention in this statement, but also in Afghanistan, the many of the fathers are the ones who are making sure their daughters
Yes.
still have access to education.
And that happened in a beautiful book called Books in Tehran, I think it is. And it was actually the fathers who were encouraging their daughters to read.
Yeah, yeah.
Uh-huh.
The participants have since been working collectively to remove the obstacles they identified. Together, they've been creating new educational opportunities that emphasize the moral and intellectual development of every child, and have been laboring to improve the safety of their villages. They've been reflecting on how individual mindsets can continue to align with the principle of gender equality, and in doing so, have been contributing to the evolution of a new culture. Many participants have commented on how these consultative spaces, combined with the community's educational efforts described above, have contributed to a rise in mutual respect between women and men in their villages. In their villages, many have perceived a greater sense of trust, common cause, understanding, and ultimately unity within the home and extending into the community. All these indicators of movement toward greater levels of peace.
Yeah, in their villages was particularly poignant.
If the truth, if this is true, which I choose to believe because it's the creative word, that we are one soul in many bodies, the changing and transformation of that culture is affecting the whole world and their feeling, towards equality of men and women.
Yeah.
Yeah. And one of the reasons and enablers to have that happen is the rise of international news, and also the travel. When people travel, they go, "Oh my, look at what's done here. Oh my, what's done here." So those are the two main reasons for that increase of awareness. Pamela, can you read grassroots initiatives for me?
Grassroots initiatives provide a vital source of insight into the lived experiences of communities learning to affect change, affect social transformation. The UN is well suited through the mandate of and networks available to UN women, among others, to distill, analyze, and share experiences that promote women's advancement at the local, regional, and national levels, and to identify methodologies that can be implemented by national governments. The UN's role will continue to be critical in raising awareness of and advancing and advocating for the principle of gender equality as a fundamental prerequisite for peace on the international stage, as well as in shaping relevant international policy frameworks. The UN is also uniquely positioned to model within its own internal structures and operations a culture that dismantles patriarchal norms and centers approaches that are inclusive and collaborative. Grassroots initiatives provide vital source of insight into the lived experiences of communities, learning of the effects of social transformation.
You're doing great. Can you do one more for us, Pam?
A future where women can, I can't see that one, can meaningfully engage as equal, I don't know what that word is.
Protagonist. It means somebody who starts something, an initiator, a beginner.
Yeah. Protagonist in all fields of human endeavor and where every individual, irrespective of sex, is able to flourish as the co-creator of society. Is
The destination.
okay. It's the screen is moving up and down, so I'm on my phone looking at it. It's difficult. Is the destination toward which humanity must now advance. Far more than simply an aspiration, the principle of gender equality needs to now be embraced by growing populations, young and old alike in every country around the world, if we are to usher in a future of lasting peace and prosperity.
It seems kind of powerful that something as um I don't want to say simple, but as something as groundbreaking yet simple as gender equality can lead to a future of peace and prosperity. But that's what our research indicates, and that's what this sentence is saying. So that's
So,
pretty amazing, you know?
along with what you're saying, ever since I was a small child, I've been crazy about psychology and how the faith looks at developing our true selves, releasing human potential. Those things was like would suck in my attention. And this thought where it says, "Our thoughts are our true reality. Prayer's the most powerful force in the universe." Phrases that just I memorized because that what you're saying, Michael, I wish you would repeat it. It's describing to me the power of individual initiative. Right now, the Universal House of Justice is telling us that there's three ways. Oh, somebody help me with words. Three powerful, what she said, protagonists or players on the world, what's it called? World, scheme or the world.
The world stage.
Thank you. So there's these three protagonists, and I think about often the power of the individual through our thoughts and how we change people we love. I choose to say, I'm always trying to be loving. Okay, I really love you all. For example, you're my special, inspiring friends. For example, on this. Well, the way you think affects me. I was trying to describe to Miss Pamela today about the world. What's it called coming up? The world, the
Community conference.
Yeah, the community conference, and how much she meant to me and her conversation. For example, powerfully influences me when she speaks about the things that matter to her in Heritage Tower. And Pamela, I've been so deeply moved, and also Linda, you were there, that the ladies, primarily there's lady teachers, but there's a few men at Westside, have come up to me since we gave the luncheon in honor of Black History, and it's powerful effect on them. I just want to say our world, what's it? the community conference is a follow. They've been saying, like, we were very sad that day. We were told we're having bad outcomes in our school, and if when you all brought us lunch, we all became happy. We didn't want you all to leave, and just a lot of little comments and how some of them want to be a part of this conversation about bettering. So the individual has a powerful effect in our initiatives when we trust in God and we make little decisions, even though we think we're small, on the group. On that, it's talking about populations, and sometimes I'll read these letters and go, populations, that's hard to relate to.
Yeah, it is. Well, one example though is the you guys have a peace garden, and somebody a female pageant was a protagonist in starting working, identifying, and kind of promoting that peace garden. So that's an example of a female protagonist working with.
Oh, yeah.
And
Yeah.
and I guess the thing is as fathers of daughters, as oh, fellow colleagues, woman and man, working hand in hand, and it's important for the male to encourage the female, the woman, to be a protagonist in her actions, you know? Oh yeah, I hear you. I understand you. Keep on doing this. You're doing,
Oh,
you know.
yeah.
Well, it is really important. Yeah.
Good one.
Are there any concluding thoughts?
I was just going to share a personal thing. I was thinking, as this was talking about, this last part was talking about things happening in other places around the world. And that's very important and very true. And but like I mentioned before, also true in this country as well. We have these problems here. And I was thinking as we were going through this, thinking about the focus on education. And like Linda was saying, having both genders from different professions come into the school so kids can see uh, that they can do whatever they wish to do. And I was thinking, I don't think about it often because they're just like, I'm at this point in my life, this is where I am. And I don't think about back much about where I was before or any of the changes. But then I realized as we were going through this, I'm the first woman in 2 generations in my family to complete a college degree. I'm the first woman of either gender in my family to complete a college degree. I was the first one.
Generation.
And it was because it wasn't from encouragement by my father. Like I said, my father's idea was you get married, you get pregnant, done. It was my mother that encouraged, that insisted that I be permitted to go to college. Otherwise, it would not have happened. So a lot of transformation in the thinking of men, like you said, Michael, in this society as well, needs to happen from the fathers and the husbands and the co-workers who are male, like in Linda's profession, accepting her as an equal, not saying horrible things to her because she's a woman and it's a man's business. That's a lot of transformation needs to
Well,
take.
Miss Linda is another powerful example to me.
Yeah.
One of my greatest prayers, aspirations in nursing was just to bring more women of color into the education for being a registered nurse. And over, I saw them be unsuccessful. And multiple reasons and multiple things I would bring up. And that culture, dominant nursing culture, they're slow to incorporate. But how Miss Linda must be astounding. She's not only a woman, but a woman of color in her field.
Yeah.
That's doubly cool. Yeah.
Well, the unfortunate thing here, Christy, about the nursing program is that it's not like other, programs or field of study that you decide what you want to go into and you pursue that. You have to be accepted into this 2-year program. If I wanted to go and
Yeah.
to do, education or something else, that's a 2-year program. I just sign up and say I'm in, getting a degree in, art or whatever. And
Right.
then I take the classes. But in nursing, they you have to be accepted. And so even though there's when people say that, well, you have to meet this, this standard, and this standard, when people look at you, they still see who you are, what you
Yeah.
are, whether you're, black, white, or fit whatever mold that they feel that person needs to have. So it's
Yeah,
it is what it is.
Yeah.
Well,
Very.
Pamela, that's so true.
Yeah.
So-
And yet the reality, it is very hard, especially when we were up at Wesleyan, to get African American students, Black students, through the program because teachers taught differently than they learned, and there was a mismatch. It was very hard to get them through the program, but like you say, they're accepted into the program. The reality that we're facing in West Virginia is half the students who apply to nursing programs cannot pass math and science.
Yeah.
And, when Christy became a nurse back in the 80s, maybe 1 in 100 couldn't pass a drug test. Today, it's 1 in 10. Students cannot pass a drug test to get accepted into nursing school. 50% of the students who apply to nursing school cannot pass the TEAS test in math and science.
So only thing that I will say in response to that is we won't talk about the statistics about, African American women compared to others and how they excel in the field in education. We won't really focus on that. I will just go back to say that I went to the same elementary school that my sister went to, and I think I've said this, Byron and Christy, you've heard this before, but my sister was a very light-skinned person, and we were taught differently, and we were compared.
Yeah.
Why don't I do this like her? Why don't I do like this like her? Where it was, I would say it was a white school, and I always say 10 to 12 African Americans went to school there. 6 of them were from our household. So
Wow.
I'm talking about the history of the school. And so it's not that we don't learn. We know that we can learn. We know that we can excel. You know that we can excel. You know that we do excel. So to say that they can't pass this or can't pass that, it is like you said, how they teach, who has taught them or who believes. And the unfortunate thing for us is that our own people are harder on fellow African Americans than they are on the others. And the only reason I'm going to say that is because my father was a college professor. My father was the head of the department. And when I talked to people that he taught, and one of them was my husband, and another one was my, brother-in-law, and they're like, he's demanding this more from us than he is from them. But what we don't understand is the fact that we're demanding more. We know that in order to make it, for you to say that, these women can't excel, or these people can get into the nursing program, we have to make a 200 to get an A. If we make a 100, we're going to get a B or less.
That's so true. That's so true.
I'm off that horse for today, but.
And Virginia, her story of what she went through in Charleston, South Carolina, where she was intentionally failed.
Yes.
So that the teachers would have jobs in the summer to remediate the Black students.
That's horrible.
And she was, actually turning in the same answers on the test as her white friends.
Yes.
But because she was Black, she was failed and had to go to summer school.
Yes.
I really appreciate these stories. And when the people are going to talk, the more we have this conversation, one-to-one, listen to the stories, because I'm thinking of the faculty. I wish I could just tape. I mean, I'm not at Wesleyan now, but if I had had Pamela as my dear friend to just speak about education of Black women in college, just like she was just doing now, I would have had some strength behind me, because I want to tell you, in lab, the white girls did not want to touch the hair of the Black girls when we had to pass the test for physical exams.
But why do you want to touch on our hair when we're in school? That's the one thing I remember. Can I touch your hair? Can I touch your hair?
Oh, well,
I don't know if you experienced that. I'm like, what the heck are you wanting to rub on my hair for? But I will say this, a Black student, a Black female has gotten into nursing school on the one try of the T's, which was my daughter, Jovan. So she's in nursing. She just recently, well, she'll be starting on Monday, actually, the program.
Yeah.
So
at Bridge Valley?
no, it's West Virginia Junior College.
Oh,
Good.
18-month program.
Tell her there are physical exams and they do touch on each other, and they need to do exams.
We're so proud of you, Mom. Pam.
Yeah. Thank you, Pamela, for getting her through. Thank you.
Is she going to live in Clarksburg?
She is doing an online program, and then they would go to Beckley or Parkersburg or wherever they're having the clinicals. They have to go there.
Fantastic. This is great.
Yes.
Thank you for telling us.
Yeah. I thank y'all too. It depends on like just how bad you want it. I understand, back in Miss Virginia days or whatnot, that it was just accepted. You just did what you was told to do, and then that was that. You really didn't really have nobody fighting for you like that. I mean, some households they probably did, some probably just didn't have no time. They say, okay, you failed, just go on. I gotta stay working or whatnot so I can keep you in a house, clean clothes, food on the table, stuff like that. But now it's just a matter of like, how bad do you want it? Do you want it? Because I wanted it real bad because they didn't want me to have it. So I went through it. You know what I'm saying? I went through it. It's a matter of how bad you want it. And
within you, and do you have family support? That's the two things. Yes, how bad do you want it, and what support do you have? Because unfortunately, a lot of children and our children, I'll say that with, like Miss Linda said, a lot of our children don't have that family support.
That's a good.
We don't have those people that are encouragement. You already have most of society saying that you can't do it,
right?
And your friends are the friends is a terrible thing, because if they don't see it and they feel like you think you're something because you're trying to get an education.
Yeah.
How dare you try to be an electrician, Linda? You think you're something. You think you all that. It's a whole lot of things that you have to fight against. And those that do make it, think about all of those things that they fought against and how you made it to where you are, Linda, with all those obstacles. So yes, it's within you, but this is back to where it says it takes a village. It's not just the one person.
Yeah.
It takes everybody around them, surrounding them, and help to hold them up and to push them toward their goals. And to forget about what we think about ourselves, or forget about what we think that person should be, like Debbie's father, forget about that. It takes everybody else. Thank God the mother was there to help push her. Okay. Sorry for that.
Oh, you're absolutely right. Yeah.
It's true. It's a thing like too with people on drugs or whatnot. I don't want you to be off drugs more than you want to be off of them. I got a friend that's, going through this now, trying to help somebody through a program and stuff. I'm like, why do you care so much? They obviously don't care. Why do you care so much? You putting stress on yourself, trying to make sure they stay clean and all that stuff. I'm not going to care more about you than you do. And that's just the bottom line, especially when you're grown, 50 years old and stuff like that. No, I'm not going to care more about you than you do. I'm just not going to do it. I
powerful. Because especially again, back to the mystical, loving our true self. Part of loving God, a simple example is, we love somebody and we never want to hurt their feelings with an insult, for example. And yet at the same time, I learned when I was very little, if you insult yourself,
Mhm.
And you tear you have to be as loving to yourself as you do to
Others.
somebody else. Yeah. Not, yeah. I think it's related, Miss Linda, to what you're saying. I think.
Well, Chris, you're so loving. You're such a loving person, Miss Chrissy. I ain't there yet. I'm just telling you, I get that tough love. That's where I come from.
Mhm.
Yeah, you're
Real
good.
love, but it's tough love.
It's good with the kids. Yeah. Yeah. True. We need,
Laura. Mhm.
sorry.
I'll let everybody know our next Elkcon. I think we're going to be rolling together with somebody else with the Clearwater Baha'is in
Oh,
YouTube. So
well,
I'll let
that'll be interesting.
it be Sundays at 11. So as I get more information, I'll send it out by email. Thanks for
Okay.
coming, everybody. Love you.
Thanks, Michael.
Thank you all. Have a wonderful day.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Everybody, thanks for being here.
Thank you.
Thank you.